you're one injury away from derailing the entire
Yeah.
plan that you have. Like if you can't go to work and earn an income, what does that look like for you?
Do I want to spend every dollar and the day I die that final check bounces to pay for my funeral? Do I want to leave a certain amount of money to my kids, or do I want to leave the maximum amount that I can? And when we make that adjustment, we see clients go from paycheck to paycheck or 5 to 10% of annual savings, upwards of 20%, almost automatically over the course of that first year.
I think people quietly just have no idea how any of it works. All right, welcome back to another episode of Business Casual. My name is Keith Smith. I'm here with Shane Stelma. We're excited for this episode.
It should be a good one. We want to dive a little bit into the mindset of younger professionals, some of the things that they're experiencing as they transition from college into their working career, traditional pitfalls that we kind of see people fall into, what they should and shouldn't be doing or considering, and some of the different things that they're kind of coming across as they kind of transition into the next phase in their life.
Yeah, I think that's an important topic, and it's a demographic that we work with pretty often. So I think that, to just provide some insight to them, I think that's important. I think people get a lot out of it. So
Yeah.
I guess to start, what do you think is, some of the most important things that people can address, after they get out of college, enter the workforce, really to start, setting that foundational. I mean, what's your approach to that, and what does that look like in your practice and for the people that you work with?
You have to start with the end in mind, right? One of the hardest questions that we typically ask a lot of the newer people we're getting in front of is, when do you want to retire? Right? If the goal is to work well into your 60s, 65 is kind of the traditional retirement age today. I mean, it could extend beyond that as people are living longer. But it's hard to know where to put money without understanding first how it comes back to you.
Right.
Right. So having a good idea of where do you want to be within the next 5 to 10 years, 10 to 20 and beyond that, is extremely important before you start to put any dollar to work. The next thing we do is we typically look at all of the group benefits for the job that you're currently in, understanding them, kind of putting them in English. What does it mean in the event something were to happen? How do we take advantage of it? What should and shouldn't we be doing? And that gives us a really solid foundation to start develop the plan and the strategy of where we want to go from there.
Yeah, I think the benefit that people are most familiar with is just their 401k. I mean, that's pretty much the only thing people kind of somewhat understand.
Yeah.
And they think that that's the only thing they should have a focus on, I guess.
Mhm.
And like you said, keeping the end in mind, I think that's really important because people don't understand that you can't access that money until retirement.
Yeah.
So they kind of just blindly put money in without any sort of game plan or,
Mhm.
thinking about kind of the end game with that.
Yeah. They know they have something. They just don't know what triggers it. How long does it last? What are the limitations behind it? How do they use it to their advantage? All of that. So we provide some clarity behind that. Walk them through how their group benefits work. How does their 401k work? Do they have Roth options? What's the difference between a traditional 401k and a Roth 401k? What are the limitations? But first and foremost is getting an understanding of, when do they want to buy a house? When do they plan on getting married? Do they want to have kids?
Yeah.
Right? Those major life events where in some situations it may make sense to not only have a strong focus on savings, but also savings outside of that 401k plan. So they have access to the money along the way as they hit those different milestones.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think, kind of just getting started, just at a high level, what are some things that people can do? Or what do you see people when they come in to see us, like what are they talking about? What do they want to address, especially earlier on in their career?
Yeah. One of the hardest conversations to have is goals, right? You have to kind of be able to look at your future self and know where you want to be. The second thing is getting all the boring stuff out of the way, right? We have a very strong protection first mindset.
Right.
So we have those tough conversations, right? Do you have life insurance? Is it group insurance? Is it supplemental and standalone policies outside? What does your disability insurance look like, right? How much coverage do you have through work? How does that work in the event it's triggered? How long does it last? And then do we have supplemental? So over a series of a couple conversations, understanding from a protection standpoint, where do we fall? Are we properly covered? Are we covered to the level that we're comfortable being covered? In the event something were to happen, what is the ongoing impact or the financial dominoes that's going to take place from that event? And can we survive it? Right. We run into a lot of issues where clients in their 20s and early 30s don't do the basic protection planning.
Right.
As they get older, medically things change. Now they're uninsurable when they actually want these things, and it's either insanely expensive or they can't get it. So starting with that protection piece helps build confidence in the rest of the planning.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I mean, what are the typical things that you hear from younger professionals on what they should and shouldn't be doing, or like
People
where
just
they should
kind
be
of they
starting?
come to me and they're like, "Hey, like how do I start investing?" And it's
Hmm.
like what you said. It's like there's really just a process
Yeah.
kind of around that. I mean, because it's you're one injury away from derailing the entire
Yeah.
plan that you have. Like if you can't go to work and earn an income, what does that look like for you? I mean, if we're putting our money, um,
Yeah.
just looking to invest it, but we don't have the proper protection, like you said. I mean, there's no point in doing that because, and kind of the snap of a finger, you're going to have to invade,
Yeah.
those buckets of money that you have if you don't have the proper
Yeah.
order kind of in place.
The investment piece, not only is it extremely important, right, but it is kind of the conduit for building wealth, right? So it's extremely important for us to protect that and give it the time it needs
Yeah.
to come to fruition and actually realize that wealth at the end of our long working career, right? Where a lot of like the younger mindset today is, how do I build wealth extremely quickly, right?
Right.
And getting rich quick, and it creates a ripple effect of taking on too much risk or bad financial decisions that are going to interrupt the ability to build wealth over a longer period of time because they're so focused on building it within the next couple of years or the
Yeah.
next 5 to 10 years.
I think, and just to be frank, I think people quietly just have no idea how any of it works. I
Mhm.
mean, like they really just don't know. They
How it
don't.
works, how it's connected, how one piece can impact the rest of their financial picture
Right.
is a big issue.
Yeah. Um. So you're getting started in the workplace. Say, you're in the beginning of your career. You're kind of climbing the ladder, maybe mid level. Um. What are some things that you can do to help you,
Mhm.
put yourself in the best position, for your future?
I would say having a strong focus on cash flow,
Cash flow.
right? And what I mean by that is where we see people run into issues is they get focused on saving a certain amount of money every year, right? I want to maximize my Roth IRA, or I want to put away $10,000 a year into a savings account. And then once that hits that emergency fund limit, that rolls into an investment portfolio. But what they're doing is they're pigeonholing themselves into saving a certain amount of money and limiting their ability to save beyond that. So we kind of have to reprogram the mind of being more spending conscious as opposed to saving conscious, right? I think we can all agree like budgets don't work. If they did, everyone would have a ton of money,
Yeah,
and
life
the
happens,
number
right?
one New Year's resolution wouldn't be to save more money, right? Not only does life happen, but emergencies come up. In some situations, it's saved today to spend later on a vacation or something, right? So changing that mentality on a cash flow structure to where I'm going to focus on spending a certain amount of money per month. Anything above and beyond that automatically gets recaptured into savings. And when we make that adjustment, we see clients go from paycheck to paycheck or 5 to 10% of annual savings, upwards of 20% almost automatically over the course of that first year. because you're going to get raises. You're going to maximize your 401k out. You're going to max out your social security contribution. Like you're going to hit these different things
Right.
where naturally, if you're focused on saving a certain amount of money, that money is automatically going to get spent.
Yeah.
Where now it's automatically allocated to savings unless we make that conscious decision to spend it.
So just being more conscious around cash flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you how do you talk to people that say maybe I don't want to wait till I'm 60? People come in and you say, one day I want to retire, and we say, all right,
Mhm.
well, like what age? And it varies based on kind of their position, whether they're a business owner or
Yeah.
working in a corporate position. What do you do with people who say, I want to be done with work. I want to make this process as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we see that kind of a lot. Like nobody, I mean, you want to work, but maybe you don't want to do what you're doing till the age of 60. And
Yeah.
it seems like a long time away. But I mean, how do we kind of bridge that, or what does that look like kind of in your world?
We get very few people that want to work to 65
Nobody wants to work.
and later, right? Everyone wants to retire tomorrow if they could. The problem is building wealth isn't easy. It takes time, right? The compound money curve and the consistency behind contributing and putting these things in. If the goal is to retire prior to 65 and even 60, so at some point within our 50s, then the traditional financial planning model doesn't work for you, right?
401k
Yeah.
or retirement plan.
What prior generations did was put a ton of money into their 401k and walked into that sunset of retirement and lived off that safe withdrawal rate, right? The issues with retiring early is you need to save more to cut off those years of your working career, right? We typically tell people if the goal is to retire at 65, you should be saving 20% of your income into something.
And that's gross income.
Yes.
Not after, after taxes and what's coming in.
Correct.
If you're making $100K, you should be saving $20,000.
Correct. And
Or it'd
that
be great too. I mean, we're going to work our way up to that. But I
Yeah.
mean, that would be the overall goal if you want to be on track for
the
retirement.
target number is 20% of our gross income. So if we want to retire at 50, then 20% is not enough because now we're cutting off 15 years of our working career. So that 20% is insanely low,
Mhm.
right? The other issue is we've now added 15 years onto retirement. So if
True.
our life expectancy is 90, so from 65 to 90, what we had going into retirement now needs to last us 25 years. If the goal is to retire at 50, we now need enough money to now last us for 40 years, right? So not only do we need to save more faster, but also we need to make that same dollar amount last another 15 years on top of that.
Yeah.
So it brings in other issues that not a lot of people want to sit down and have those grown-up conversations of, if that is truly your goal, then you need to be doing this, this, and this.
Mhm. I think that's something that, I don't know, maybe we could talk about some of the shortfalls we see in our industry, but I think something that we focus on that what I've heard isn't focused on in other firms or just in the financial services industry as a whole is the distribution part of the planning. So like it's all about accumulation and what you're doing kind of on that side of things, but no one really talks about the distribution side. And I think that's something that we focus on. I think it's important too because I feel like that's maybe a shortfall of kind of our industry. It's more of like the advisors, gathering assets and not really talking about how these assets can be used, kind of down the road. And I think that's something that we focus on. It's important.
Yeah, the industry as a whole has created so much customization on building wealth and have left the distribution side to be very cookie cutter, right? You transition into retirement, you have X amount of money, and you live off the safe withdrawal rate.
Right.
Where we differ from a lot of other agencies is there can be customization on the distribution side as well. There's no one size fit all on how your money actually comes back to you.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it becomes important to understand goals. What do we want the end to look like, right? Is legacy important? Do I want to spend every dollar and the day I die that final check bounces to pay for my funeral? Right? Do I want to leave a certain amount of money to my kids, or do I want to leave the maximum amount that I can? Right? What does that look like? What does that transition period look like? How do I want to leave my money to them? Do I want to try and leave it tax free? Do I want to leave it through an IRA where there potentially is going to be unnecessary or consequential taxes on them as they inherit that money?
Hmm.
Having those conversations is extremely important. And that's where we want to have that end goal in mind, understanding what the client's wanting to accomplish so we can kind of account for those hurdles that they're not necessarily seeing 20, 30, 40 years from now, where most people are just waiting until that time comes and then reacting to it.
Yeah. You mentioned the safe withdrawal rate. What are some issues that you can, kind of see with that strategy? I mean, I feel like that's pretty common for people.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, what is kind of your philosophy around the safe withdrawal rate and what that looks like for people? Because I feel like that's kind of thrown around quite a bit, and
Yeah.
like I mentioned earlier, people really don't know about this. So I think it's important to kind of talk about, like, if that's your only strategy. I mean, what are some issues you could see with that?
Yeah. I mean, there's no guarantees. That's the biggest issue. Define safe, right?
Yes, safe
Nowadays,
withdrawal rate.
yeah, like the industry today will tell you the safe withdrawal rate is somewhere between 3 and 4%. Years ago, that may have been 7, 8, 9%, right? Like it's a floating rate. In retirement, we have a finite amount of money to last until we pass away. So if for some reason, due to inflation, lifestyle changes, life becomes more expensive, then the safe withdrawal rate may not be enough. And I'm forced to take more money than I may be comfortable taking just to get by. And that could run the issue of us outliving our money
Hmm.
or relying heavily on other people, our kids to support us and creating a domino effect of problems.
Especially like in down markets, like when you're just entering retirement, you're living on the safe withdrawal rate. I mean, what are you doing if there's a couple bad years
Mhm.
of market
Yeah.
performance? Like, what does that look like for you? Because now you're withdrawing.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean, you run into the issue of choosing the wrong year to retire in,
yeah,
and nobody knows what the market's going to do,
right.
right? So, what happens to the people that retired in 2000 when they were hit with, a 9 or 10% down year? 2001, market's down again. 2002, market's down again. A lot of people that retired back then, 3 years into retirement, half their retirement account's gone
Right.
just because of stuff out of their control.
That's frightening.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about, but that's what we're there to do. Like, that's why we're there
Yeah.
to kind of help and provide guidance and educate clients kind of around
Yeah.
um, those things that can arise.
Yeah.
Kind of changing gears a little bit. What are some things that you see in the financial services industry as a whole? Some shortfalls of planning that um, you like our clients might experience outside of kind of our firm and our philosophy. I mean, what are some things that you see when clients come in, they say, "Hey, I have a previous financial advisor," and you kind of sit down and review
Mhm.
their plan. I mean, what are some shortfalls, I guess, that you see kind of across the industry, and things that we focus on that maybe other people don't?
I think the biggest issue we face today is the internet. Everyone thinks that they have the perfect recipe on how to build wealth. I mean,
Dave Ramsey.
yeah, and you can Google something, right? And confirmation bias in our industry is real, right? If I'm putting myself in a client's shoes and I think X is true, but I want to do some research on it, I can find a million articles on why it's true. I can find a million articles on why it's not true, but I'm going to gear towards why it's true because I want to prove myself to be right. Where us as financial professionals and as advisors, we have to be as agnostic as humanly possible when it comes to a strategy,
Right.
right? Math is math. We have to take the feelings part out of it. So as we're building out these proposals for clients, we have to understand that that projected number in the future, 100% of it is wrong. right? This is where we would anticipate you being within some reasonable expectation. But we know for sure that it's not going to be that number
Right.
because there's all these factors that come into it, right? What do taxes look like? What are the fees going to be, right? We can try and minimize those two factors as much as humanly possible. But what is the market going to do? Is it going to average 8%? Is it going to average 10, 15? Is it going to average 5? Right. So we try and be as specific as possible in terms of what are the hurdles we're going to come across? How do we alleviate the pressure being put on us by those things? And then how do we adjust as life happens and as things adjust?
Yeah. That's interesting. Um, I guess maybe more of a personal question. What do you enjoy about this career, and like what do you get out of it? I mean, what kind of gets you up out of bed? I mean,
Mhm.
how long have you been doing this? Are you in like your fifth year,
So coming to the wrap of my 6th year,
sixth year?
yeah. What what's exciting for me is every day is different. Um, I came from an accounting background. I mean, that's where my undergrad is in, and it was too repetitive for me. Right? I knew I wanted to be involved in something to do with money. Just
Right.
wasn't sure exactly what it was going to be. Um, and I just, as I was kind of going through that and working in that field, I realized that I just didn't want to be doing the same thing every day. So I kind of transitioned into the financial planning world, got my graduate degree in finance, um, and got into the financial advising field. Seen success relatively quickly. Um, but what I enjoy the most about it is I love puzzles, solving problems.
Yeah.
And every client has their own problems, and we have to find them and identify solutions and put the right pieces in place to fill that puzzle
Yeah.
and to make it as smooth as possible for them.
Yeah. I love like, going into a client meeting or just initial meeting, and then they come out and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like, I never thought about that," or "I feel so relieved that I came and sat down." Like,
Hmm.
for a lot of people it can be very intimidating, especially starting out when they're young,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Well, I don't have any money to come to you." And like that's not what's important. It's just about
Yeah.
setting the foundation. Or people who do have a lot of money and they have these complex issues that they deal with, and they come and sit down and
Yeah.
talk to us, and they feel a lot better about things. I wouldn't say like oftentimes, but sometimes we say, "Hey, you're in a great spot. You
Mhm.
don't have to be as worried as you are."
Yeah.
Or if they're not, then we're there to kind of
Or like,
tell them and be direct in what we the information that we provide them. So
yeah, for like advisors slash therapists.
yeah, literally.
Um, where I think a lot of people come into when they're kind of either have some hesitancy on that first meeting or whether they want to meet with us and move forward is 70 to 80% of what we do is not revenue producing for us. It's purely designed to help the client be in a much better position,
Mhm.
right? So we talk all aspects of that client's life, to where we're essentially being like a financial coach, right? This is what you should be doing. You need to go and talk to your PNC person about implementing X, Y, and Z, right? When was the last time you adjusted your deductible or your coverage on that? Go and talk to your PNC person. Get us like an overview of the different offerings and the limitations, and then come back. We'll talk to you and see what makes sense to do, right? So we're we have to kind of bring some peace of mind to the client is knowing that, hey, if you're thinking about buying a car, give us a call. We'll talk through it. You're not going to get a bill at the end of that phone call.
Yeah.
Like, we're happy to walk you through to make sure that that is 100% in your financial best interest to be able to go and do that. That way you don't have to feel bad for it. You can
Mhm.
go in and buy that car and be happy, and knowing that you're not going to sacrifice from a financial perspective for doing that and pulling the trigger on that.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like some of my best clients, I'm talking to them pretty frequently, and it's
Mhm.
conversations like that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I have this coming up. Like, what should I do? Or it just could be in general. Like literally anything.
Yeah. And the clients appreciate that,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We get really close with them. I mean, me and a group of advisors, we do client events every year. Um, so it's all about building that community, building that relationship, and having that trust to where that client knows they can call us at any point, have a conversation. We'll talk it out, pros, cons. We'll give our recommendation, our proposal, and this is what we think you should be doing. But ultimately, it's your money, it's your decision,
Yeah, really just a sounding board
right?
for people.
Yeah. And that leads to clients feeling confident enough to where they can introduce us to their friends, their family, coworkers, and people where we can sit down and have a conversation with them and understand that there's no pressure. There's like no bill at the end of that consultation. They can just sit down, have a conversation with us, and we can make a decision on whether it makes sense to work together or not.
Right. I see some suggestions up on the screen that I think is probably important to talk about. What do you think are some financial habits that are important for people just starting? Maybe just starting in the workforce, mid level, kind of like in the accumulation phase. People who are our age. What are some things that are important to focus on
Mhm.
that really set them up long term for success?
Automating financial decisions is extremely important. Setting the foundation.
In terms of like automating, is that like more on like the saving side or just automating like everything that you can or
For sure, automated savings, right? We need to make sure that we're saving the proper amount. Where things get different um, from client to client is how that money should then get reallocated, right? So for one person, should they be putting their money into mutual funds or ETF funds? Should it be going into a Roth IRA, 401k, non-qualified or non-retirement investment accounts? That's where we get into for client specific recommendations, what they should and shouldn't be doing based on what they're trying to accomplish. But if they can start from day one of working with us on saving the proper amount, we know for sure they're going to be in a much better financial position 10, 20, 30 years from now.
so savings, that's an important one. Protection.
Yeah, protection is probably up there with savings. Like I said earlier, it's one of the most boring conversations, but financially, it's one of the most impactful.
Right.
Right. I mean, we hear horror stories all the time about, this person was diagnosed with cancer, and now they want to get life insurance is extremely important for them, but now medically they're unqualified for it. They can't get it. So getting it while you're young, locking in that insurability to where now as life is happening, you're getting married, you're having kids, you're buying a house, you're starting a business, the foundation is there, and then it just gets readjusted based on the new trajectory of life at that point.
So yeah, being an adult,
Yeah.
taking care of yourself, your family. We don't
At
want to
some
see
point, we have to
GoFundMe's.
adult. Yeah.
We don't want to see GoFundMe's from our clients. We want you to come in and have a conversation with us so we can take care of that for you
Mhm.
and find something that's optimal for you and your financial position.
Correct.
Because, like you said, it's just so important. And I've experienced it with one of my good friends. Thankfully, we were able to get him the proper coverage
Mhm.
before things kind of took a turn. And, we're hoping everything works out for him and his family. But it's just so important, just having that, God forbid, if anything were to ever happen, your family's protected, you're protected.
Mhm.
The bills don't stop,
Yeah.
and it's just important to take care of. And I think just having people like us who are easygoing and can talk to you and just give you facts. I think
Mhm.
that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
But so that's very important. So savings, protection. I mean, what else can you think of? I mean,
Um, I would say from kind of a perspective, and I think this is probably the biggest transition from prior generations to this generation. I think the financial literacy is becoming a lot better. People are wanting to educate themselves on different strategies, different financial products. We're talking more about money.
they have to be careful on the information they're consuming too.
Yeah, and that's where the internet becomes a massive issue,
Yeah.
right? Is people are trying to educate themselves more, but the stuff on the internet isn't asking you what are the goals, what are you trying to accomplish, what's the timeline, what's your risk tolerance.
Those people could just be selling
Yeah,
something too. You know what I mean? And they're kind of
correct.
just leading you down this path of where, all right, you're going to listen to what I have to say, and then
Yeah.
you're going to take action by something that I'm selling.
It's
Whatever.
it's good for getting specific education, right? If I want to understand how a Roth IRA works, do your research, understand it, but don't implement it without talking to somebody about your goals and what you're trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
Because yes, a Roth IRA is fantastic. It does exactly what it's designed to do. It is fantastic for tax-free growth and tax-free retirement on the back end. But for somebody that wants to buy a house and get married and having major life events coming up over the next couple of years, if I want to put my money into something right now, can't touch any of that growth and use it to my full advantage in the short term. And it's purely a long-term strategy. So do your research, understand fundamentally how these things work, but then sit down with a professional and talk through your goals and make sure that it is directly aligned with what you're trying to do.
Yeah. All right, great, man. Well, I think we can wrap this up. It was a great conversation. We're excited to be here today,
Yeah,
and
hopefully they'll have us back.
hopefully this is useful, and we had a lot of fun. So thanks,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely.
Appreciate it.
This podcast is intended for general public use and is for informational purposes only. By providing this content, Park Avenue Securities, LLC, and our financial representatives are not undertaking to provide investment advice or making recommendation for a specific individual or situation, or to otherwise act in a fiduciary capacity. This information should be relied upon only when coordinated with individual professional advice. Keith Smith is a registered representative, and Shane Stelma is a registered representative and financial advisor at Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS. Securities, products, and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA, SIPC. Keith Smith and Shane Stelma is a financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, NY. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Alliance Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. Shane Stelma, CA insurance license number 4118852, AR insurance license 158383330, 8922705.1, expires 528.